Hello, my name is Todd Burleson, and I am the very proud author of The Secret War. And today is launch day, the exciting culmination of more than 10 years of researching and exploring and writing and failing and writing and failing. But we made it. I'm here. And today, what I thought I would do is I would read the first chapter of The Secret War, which is available today. I'd love to know, after you hear this, what you think. What do you think of the first chapter? And what do you think this book is going to mean to a new generation of readers who are in a lot of ways going to be learning about a time period maybe that they don't know a lot about, or certainly most of them will not know much about Dayton, Ohio in 1944. And I'm excited for them to learn. This begins in January of 1944. Chapter 1, Right Field. Dayton, Ohio, 15 January 1944. Time, 21:45 hours. Jamie's fingers were useless, cold, heavy sticks inside his wool gloves that refused to listen to his brain. He had been crouched behind the fence post for 20 minutes, and now his legs were screaming. A dull heat burned in his thighs, but his toes had turned into wooden blocks 10 minutes ago. Doubt needled him harder than the wind. If the rumor was just schoolyard talk, he was risking everything for nothing. Getting caught didn't mean detention or a lecture. It meant arrest, questioning, a charge that would follow him the rest of the war. He was one mistake away from disappearing into a system that didn't care why he had been there. The cold bit through his coat and settled into his joints like a deep ache. His breath came out in thick white puffs, hanging in the air like smoke. He tried to swallow the air, breathing in his collar to hide the signs of his position. The Rolleiflex was a freezing brick against his chest. Jack's camera. Jack's trust. Jamie checked his watch again, wiping fog from the glass to see the dial. 21:45. 15 minutes until the ghost engine arrived. The darkness was so thick he could not tell where the field ended and the sky began. He felt blind, pinned against the chain-link fence. But he was too cold and too far in to leave empty-handed. The airfield went silent for a heartbeat. Jamie's stomach hardened into a cold knot. Then he heard it, a thin, high whistle that did not sound like any engine he knew. Not the chug, chug, chug of a propeller. Something sharper, mechanical. The sound grew fast, tearing at the air, a hollow roar like a hurricane trapped inside a steel tunnel. Jamie felt in his teeth before the full force hit him. The noise had weight, squeezing his chest until his ribs vibrated. His heart stopped, then kicked into a frantic sprint. The rumor was true. The ghost engine existed. Runway lights flickered to life, a string of bright pearls cutting across the asphalt. Suddenly, the plane was there, dropping out of the clouds like a dark miracle. No spinning blades, just a smooth, shark-like shape slicing through the night, screaming with power. Jamie's hands shook, not from the cold, from the secret unfolding right in front of him. He fumbled open the viewfinder, vision swimming in the sudden light. He stared into the glass until the world narrowed to a square. He turned the dial, watching the image snap into sharp black and white focus. Intake vents, stubby wings, no propellers. His finger found the button. Click. The shutter whispered. Then, in a rush, Jamie broke the most basic rule of shooting in the dark. The flashbulb fired. The night tore open in a burst of white. For a split second, the world was as bright as noon. The light slammed into the fence, the frozen weeds, in Jamie's wide eyes. He was not a shadow anymore. He was a target. "Hey, you! Over there!" The shout hit him like a punch to the gut. Headlights swung toward the fence, beams slicing across the wire until they locked onto him. A jeep roared to life, a low growl compared to the jet, but it was coming and coming fast. Jamie didn't stop to think. Boots crunched behind him. A voice called out, not shouting, clear and certain, the sound of someone who expected to be obeyed. Jamie didn't look back. The camera knocked against his ribs as he ran, heavier than it had been moments before. The plane was still there in his mind. Its shape burned bright and wrong against the sky. He had seen it. Worse, he had taken its picture. Another voice closer now. The snap of a radio, the hard sweep of a flashlight cutting through the dark. Jamie cut across the field, and he didn't stop until the ground rose and the buildings broke his line of sight. Only then did he slow, hands shaking as he pressed the camera flat against his chest, as if that could make it disappear. He understood something then, though he did not yet have the words for it. The danger was not always what he had seen. It was that someone had seen him seeing it. And that's how The Secret War opens. And it's I'm a little bit biased, but it's a really exciting story that explores the lives of three ordinary kids. The boy you just heard about is Jamie. And then there are two other boys that I really, truly feel so passionately for. One of them is Billy, and Billy also has an older brother who is serving in the army, is away fighting. And the third boy is a really unique kid. His name is Kenji, or Ken, as the boys call him. And Ken is originally from California, but after Pearl Harbor, he and 120,000 other Japanese Americans were interned and kept basically in prison camps during the war, ostensibly to keep them safe, as the government said. But we know now, obviously, that was not necessarily the case. And Ken's family, except for his father, it's his mother and he are relocated to Dayton, Ohio. And Dayton, Ohio, before the war, had 2 Japanese American residents. So it was a very, guess you would probably call it a harsh place for Ken to be relocated. But they decided that because it was far enough east that they didn't have to worry that the Japanese would be spies necessarily against the military on the West Coast. But more, I like to think, as a former resident of Dayton, I like to think of it as it was a good, wholesome place for people to settle. And Ken's life is very different than the other boys. He's first and foremost a Japanese American. And he literally lived a life of being the enemy or looking like the enemy. And that dynamic is really powerful. And I really enjoyed exploring that in 1944 and think that there are a lot of parallels that our readers today could connect with. So that's the first chapter of The Secret War. Like I said, it is out today. I would love it if you visited my website. It is toddburlesonwonders.com. And there you'll find all sorts of things, but there is a specific tab for The Secret War where you can explore in a bit more depth for the book if you are an educator or a homeschooler or a parent or just a curious kid. You can download the free educator materials. It's an entire ecosystem to explore the book, and I built a 20-day unit, but I also created a basically a guide for a book club if you were going to run a book club using this book. So it's a really great place to start. In my career as an educator, 34 years in the classroom and library, whenever I found a new book, I knew how hard it was to actually implement that book into the classroom, just because I didn't have time necessarily to create all the stuff that goes with a novel. And so I decided that when I launched the book, I was also launching these free materials. I didn't want educators to have to waste another Sunday afternoon. I wanted them to be able to truly integrate this into their classroom or their book club, or even just their language arts class. So thank you so much for watching and for reading. And please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, or you can send me an email. You can do all of that at my website, toddburlesonwonders.com. Thank you so much, and have an awesome day. And I hope that The Secret War finds its way into your heart like it has mine. Thank you.